Hi, today we are going to learn about P5 fractions, and here are the objectives. Basically for P5 you only need to know dividing a whole number by a whole number with quotient as a fraction and converting fractions to decimals. But you still need to know all the fractions that you have learned, all the concepts on fractions that you have learned before. Okay, so here what we are going to do, we are going to focus on these two areas, and then we're going to do some revision on some of the concepts of fractions that you have covered before. So basically, what does dividing a whole number by a whole number with quotient as a fraction mean? Okay, basically you just have two whole numbers, you divide them, and the answer won't give you a whole number. So let's say we have 6 divided by 3. Okay, let's say we have 6 divided by 3. So let's try and do that here. Let's say we have 6 divided by 3. These are two whole numbers. Okay, the answer will give you a whole number. So this is not what we are looking for, because it clearly says that we need to divide a whole number with a whole number. Okay, and we have the quotient as a fraction. And how would that look like? It is something like the first example here. When you have 3 pies were shared equally among 5 children, how many pies did 2 children receive? You can see here, when you have 3 divided by 5, your answer won't be a whole number. So how do you do this kind of question? Basically, you need to know this part here. Okay, you need to know this part here. How fractions and divisions are related. Okay, so once you know how they are related, okay, so this part here explain how fractions and division are related. So basically 3/5 is 3 divided by 5, just like in our example. Our example shows 3 divided by 5. 3 pies are shared equally among 5 children. So when you want the answer as a fraction, or you want to write the answer as a fraction, all you need to do is this first number, it becomes a numerator, and the second becomes the denominator. That's all. And always check to make sure that you simplify the fraction and give that as your final answer. So for the first question, we have solved it. It's quite straightforward. 3 pies were shared among 5 children. And the answer is 3/5 for 1 children, but we want for 2 children. So we need to do the next part here. We need to take a 3/5, okay, times 2. Notice this concept is not inside the P5 syllabus. Okay, it's not in our objectives today for P5, but like I've mentioned, you need to know all the concepts about fractions that you have learned before. So let's recall, how do we do multiplication of fractions? Basically, any whole number can be written as a fraction. All you need to do is give it a numerator, which is 1. So for this case, we can put the numerator here. We can put a 1 as the numerator. And then the next important thing is to make sure you simplify first. Now a lot of students, they make a mistake in simplification where they think only numerators and denominators from the same fraction can be simplified. For example, if you have 2 over 4, then you can simplify this 2. So they simplify, divide by 2, okay, and you get 1/2. But know that as long as you have a numerator and a denominator, you can simplify the fraction. For example, you have 3 over 5 times 1 over 6. Okay, so here you can see 3 and 5, they are in the same fraction. The numerator is 3, the denominator is 5, but you can't simplify. But you have 6 as a denominator of the other fraction, so you can simplify these two fractions. Okay, 3 divided by 3 equals to 1, and 6 divided by 3 equals to 2. Then you multiply the numerator with the numerator. Here we have 1 times 1 and 5 times 2. So 1 times 1 is just 1. That's the numerator. The denominator is 5 times 2 equals to 10. So that's our answer for this particular question here. Now back to our original question. So we have 3/5 times 2. So we gave the 2 a denominator of 1, and we can't simplify any of the fractions. Okay, we've checked 3 and 5 can't be simplified, and we have 3 and 1, you can simplify that, and you have 2 and 5, you can simplify that. Remember the rule, as long as one numerator and one denominator. So once we have checked that the fraction cannot be simplified, now we can do the multiplication. So we'll take numerator times numerator and denominator times denominator. So 3 times 2 is 6. And 5 times 1 is 5. Now, we have a fraction where the numerator is greater than the denominator. This is called an improper fraction. And the practice is we don't leave our answer in improper fractions. So how do we change it? Okay, so if we look again at our first part, 3/5 is 3 divided by 5. So 6 over 5 is 6 divided by 5. You can do your working. 6 divided by 5. Okay, this is how it looks like. So you get 1 here. 1 times 5 is 5. You subtract that, you get 1. Now, you don't need to do anything else like add decimal points or do remainder of 1. No. So because we want it as a fraction. So remember, this will be your numerator. That's all you need to remember. Okay, so this is your numerator. So you are left with 2 other digits or 2 other numbers, 5 and a 1. Now remember, the denominator will always be greater than the numerator. So here we have 5 as the larger number. So it will be the denominator and 1 will be the numerator. Okay, so again, all you need to remember is this will be your whole number. And then you are left with 2 other numbers, which one of them will be larger than the other. And the larger number will be the denominator. So let's take a look at the next question, a similar question. 5 pizzas were shared equally among 4 children. What fraction of the pizzas did each child get? Now, a common mistake that most students make is, instead, especially if, let's say, the question is like the first question, where the number of pies here is smaller than the number of children. They usually will take 5 divided by 3. I've seen this a lot. So remember what you are dividing. Okay, if you are dividing the pies, then it's 3 divided by how many children? 5 children. Okay, if you do the other way around, 5 divided by 3, what it means is you're dividing 5 children among 3 pies. Okay, so I don't think the children will appreciate that. Okay, so the next part here, 5 pizzas were shared equally among 4 children. So we are sharing the pizzas. And how many pizzas do we have? We have 5 of them. So it's 5 pizzas shared with 4 children. And what do we get? Remember, we want what fraction here? So we have 5 over 4. So the same thing, we have an improper fraction. So we do the working. 5 divided by 4. So what do we get? So 1 times 4 is 4. And when we minus this, subtract this, we have 1. Remember, this will be your whole number. And you are left with only 2 other digits. You are left with 4 and 1. And we can see 4 is the greater number. So 4 will be the denominator and 1 will be the numerator. And this is your answer for this question. Next question. Same type of question again. Abigail divides 10 similar pizzas equally among 12 children. So here we have, this time around, less pizza than children. This is where a lot of students are going to make that mistake that I mentioned just now. They will take 12 divided by 10. But remember, what is that thing that you are dividing? Here we are dividing, we are sharing the pizzas. So the pizzas come first. So this is 10 divided by 12. Okay, what do we get? We get a fraction. Okay, it states there clearly that it wants you to give the answer as a fraction there. What fraction of the pizzas does each child receive? And it has a reminder here. Leave your answer in the simplest form. So all you need to do, sorry about that, let's change it to our pen setting. So remember, all you need to do is the first number will be your numerator, the second number will be your denominator, and we're going to simplify. Divided by 2, we get 5. Divided by 2, we get 6. So we get 5 over 6. So that's how you divide whole numbers with whole numbers with a fraction as your answer. The next question is straightforward. It's not phrased in a word, a problem story. It simply just says find the value of 14 divided by 4, and it states there to give your answer as a mixed number this time. Okay, as a mixed number. So again, in simplest form. So you need to know how to change improper fraction into a mixed number. If let's say, for example, here you can see, okay, it's the same thing, we've done it before. This is the way to change it here. Okay, when we divide, okay, here this is a mixed number again as a reminder, and we change it to a proper or a mixed number here. Again, sorry, this is an improper fraction and we change it to a mixed number. So the numerator again will be 14 and the denominator here will be 4. And we do our working. 14 divided by 4. Okay. Another common mistake that students always make is they tend to put the wrong number inside and outside, especially if the question looks something like this. Let's say, let me give you an example here. In green, 4 divided by 14. Okay, they see, oh, 14 is the bigger number. So what they do is they will put 14 inside and they'll put 4 outside. So of course this is wrong. Okay, this is not what we are looking for. Okay, so how do we make sure that we don't make this mistake? Well, I usually tell my students, if you read the question, 14 divided by 4, 14 comes first. And look, treat this as a house. So this is the door and this is the roof. So this is the house. So if 14 comes first, 14 will enter the house first. Then 4 will be outside waiting. Okay, again, 14 is in front of 4. 14 divided by 4. So this looks like a house. This is the door and this is the roof. And since 14 is first here in front, 14 will enter the house first. Now we can divide like what we've done just now. Okay, so 14 times 3 is 12. When we subtract, we get 2. Now, look at this. We have our whole number here. Okay, so we'll put the 3 there. And we are left with 4 and 2. And we can see that 4 is the larger number. It will be our denominator and 2 will be our numerator. Now, we need to simplify this because 2 over 4 can be simplified. So we get 3.5. So this is your final answer. Now, the next part here is converting fractions to decimals. It's there's two methods to do this conversion. The first one is to change the denominator to either 10, 100 or 1,000. And usually the clue, if you look at the first question and the second question, I mean this question here and this question here, both expects you to convert the fraction to decimal, but there's a big difference. The second question will ask you to correct your answer to 2 decimal places. Usually, if they see this, you will not use the first method here, converting the denominator to 10, 100 or 1,000. Okay, we will look at the second question later. Now we're going to focus on the first one. So 3/4, 3/4. Now we check. Can 3/4 change, can 4 be changed to 10? Okay, definitely we know that 4 cannot be changed to 10. Okay, 10 is not in 4's times table. Okay, it is not a multiple of 4. So an advice I would give is try to remember these common numbers. Okay, for example, 4, when you want to change 4, you can change it to 100 by multiplying 25. Okay, so we multiply the numerator by 25 too. So we get 25 times 3. Okay, if you are not familiar, you do the working. Okay, if you can remember, the answer will be 75. Now we've done that part. The second part will be to divide 75 by 100. Okay, how do we divide 75 by 100 without calculator? Look at the number of zeros in 100. There's 2 zeros there. Alright, so your decimal point will have to shift. This is another area where students get confused. They're not sure whether they are supposed to shift right or shift left. There's a phrase that we use. We try to, not really a phrase, okay, but we try to remember this guy, Mr. DL. What does Mr. DL mean? Mr. DL means multiply right, divide left. So it means that if you are multiplying by 100 or 10 or 1,000, it goes to the right. The decimal point goes to the right. But if you're dividing, it goes to the left. So here you can see it's dividing. So where's the decimal point? There's no decimal point here. That's visible. So the decimal point is actually there. So we're going to move it the same number of zeros found. So here we can see 100 has 2 zeros. We're going to shift 2 times. And to which direction? This is divide, and divide is left. So we're going to go once and twice. So we have the decimal point there. And we have to put a 0 in front. So the answer is 0.75. This is the answer number 3. Again, first thing you must do is change the denominator to 100 or 10, 100 or 1000, depending on what the denominator is. And once you get there, all you need to do is do the division. Okay, so let's look at an example here. Let me add one more page here, and then we'll take a look at this. Okay, so let's do a division. Let's do a division here. We'll try, let's say 2/5. Okay. Now 5 can become a 10 when we multiply by 2. So we get 4/10. So 4/10 is 4 divided by 10. And there's 1 0 here. So we're going to shift the decimal once. And the decimal point is going to go there. So we have 0.4. That's our answer. Okay, so this is if the decimal is 5, you change it to 10. And if the decimal is 4, you can't change it to 10, you try to change it to 100. Now another number which you can see the example later is 8. So all these numbers are useful to remember. Okay, 8 you can change to 1000 by multiplying 125. So you will get 125 over 1000. And when you do the division, you're gonna move the decimal point 3 times because there's 3 zeros. So you will move once, twice, and thrice. So you put the decimal point there, and that's the 0. So 0.125. Okay, so remember, if the denominator is 8, you multiply 125 to get 1000. If the denominator is 4, you multiply 25 to get 100. Okay, what other denominators should you know? 1/20. Okay, 1/20 times 5 times 5, you get 5/100. And you do your division. 5 divided by 100. This time there's 2 zeros. You're going to move once. And look at this. Twice. There's an empty space here. So you need to put the 0 there. And the decimal is going to be beside the 0 to the left. So you have 0.05. Okay, and another number will be 1/25. You multiply by 4. You get 4/100. And again, okay, you're going to shift twice. And you'll see once, twice. There's a space there for you to put the 0. So it's 0.04. And of course, the other number will be 1/125, where you multiply by 8. You get 8/1000. Okay, 8 divided by 1000. You're going to shift thrice now. Once, twice, and thrice. Look, there's 2 spaces for you to put 2 zeros. So the answer is 0.008. Okay, so that's how you convert using the first method, changing the denominator to 10, 100, or 1000. What if you can't change the denominator to 10, 100, or 1000? Okay, again, the clue, they will say correct your answer to 2 decimal places. So what you're going to do is you're going to do like what you did here in the first part, except instead of leaving the number just like that, we're going to have to do something different, just a slight difference. Okay, so 7 over 9 is equal to 7 divided by 9. So remember, 7 is in front. So 7 is going to get home first. Divided by 9. So we're going to put a 0 there. We get 0 here, minus, and we get 7. Now, we want our answer to be a decimal. We can't stop here. And we want 2 decimal places. So remember that we want 2 decimal places. This is very important. So what you're going to do now is you're going to put the decimal here, and you're going to put the decimal point there. And you're going to put a 0 here. You're going to bring down that 0, and you have 70 that you're going to divide now. Alright, so you're going to take 9 times 6. 9 times 7. Let me erase that. Okay, so 9 times 7 is 63. Okay, when you subtract, you will get another 7 again, and you don't stop. Okay, now you have a decimal there as your answer, but you're not going to stop because you want 2 decimal places. You're going to continue putting another 0, bringing it down, and again another 70, and you put another 7 there to get 63. When you subtract, you get another 7. So are we going to stop here because we have our 2 decimal places? No. If they want 2 decimal places, okay, they're asking you to correct your answer to 2 decimal places, you have to go to the 3rd decimal place, and I will show you why. You bring down the 0, you get 70. Again, 7. And you get 63 here. Okay, you minus, you get 7, and you can stop now. Okay, now you have 0.777. This is where you're going to correct to 2 decimal places. This is what you want, 2 decimal place. And you're going to look at the number, the number beside that decimal place. So what is this number? 7. 7 means you're going to round up. Round up means the next number here, you will add 1 to it. So it becomes 0.78. Okay. So what happens if, let's say, the number is 0.298. Okay. You're going to round off or correct to 2 decimal place. You look at this, 8 is going to round up. 9 plus 1 is 10. But you can't put 2 digits in one place value because these are all place values. You can't put it, okay, you can't put 2 digits in one place value. Alright. So if I put 2 digits, it will look 2 digits, it will look like this, which is wrong. So what do? You regroup with this number 2. So 9 becomes 10. 9 becomes 10. So the 1 will go here. You will add to the 2. So it becomes 0.3. And the 0 will be here. And don't forget, you have to put the 0 because you want 2 decimal places. 2 decimal places. If you leave your answer as 0.3, marks will be deducted. Because the question clearly states that they want you to give your answer in 2 decimal places. Okay, let's take a look at a few more questions. Express 9/3/20 as a decimal again. So we have this time a whole number. The whole number will be in front of the decimal, that's all. And 3/20, you can do your working somewhere in your paper. And you know, just now we did this, we can change this to 100 by multiplying 5. We get 15/100. Now, we can change this by dividing 15 divided by 100. So we shift twice, once, twice, the decimal point goes there. So we have 1, 5. So the answer is 9.15. Next, the same denominator, 20. So we know we can multiply by 5. Multiply by 5, we get 65 over 100. And we do our division. Divided by 100. We're going to shift twice. Once, twice. The decimal place goes there. We have 0.65. Now the next number the next question, express 13 over 7 as a decimal correct to 2 decimal place. You see, this is the clue. So you know, you're not going to waste your time trying to figure out, can I change it to 10, 100 or 1000? Because you have a clue there, correct to 2 decimal places. So you're going to do your division. Okay, we're going to do the division here. Okay, we have 13 over 7, which is equals to 13 divided by 7. And remember, 13 comes first, so 13 will be inside the house. Over 7. Okay, sorry, there will be 1. Okay, so you have 1 here. And 7, and you minus, it becomes a 6. And you're going to put the decimal point there. This will be 0. Bring it down. 60. Okay, so 60 divided by 7. That will be 8. 56. Minus will be a 4. Now we're going to put another 0. Bring it down. Now it's 40. We're going to put a 5. Because 7 times 5 is 35. Minus, and you get a 5. Okay, you put another 0. Remember, even though the question says you want 2 decimal places, you're not going to stop at 2 decimal places. You're going to stop at the 3rd decimal place. Okay, 7 times 7, 49. You minus this, it gets a 1. So now you're going to look at the 2nd decimal place. Okay, and the number or the digit beside it is bigger than 5. So you're going to round up. So this will add 1 to your answer. So you get 1.86. So that's your answer, 1.86. Next, 2 over 125 as a decimal. Look, they did not mention for us to correct or to 2 decimal places or any other decimal places, in fact. So we know we can change this to 10, 100 or 1000. And logic will tell us that we won't change it to 10, nor will we change it to 100, because 125 is greater than 10 and greater than 100. And if you memorize the times table, or rather the fractions that I asked you to, or I advise you to memorize just now, you will know that 125 can be converted to 1000 by multiplying 8. So when we times 8, we get 16 over 1000. Alright, so we're going to do the division now. And we don't need to do, okay, look here. It's divide 1000. Now, you don't need to do, 16 comes first. 16 is going to be inside the house, and it's going to be over 1000. No, you don't need to do this. Okay, because we are dividing by 1000, we can just shift the decimal places. So when we shift, we're going to shift 3 times. So we're going to shift once, twice, and thrice. Now, my advice is do this shifting, okay, draw it out so you won't miss any spaces. Alright, so draw it out like what I did here. So you won't miss any spaces. So you know, there's an empty space for you to put a 0 there. Alright, so this is the answer. Okay. Next question is not part of the syllabus. So we will continue this in the next video. So hopefully, if you like this video, please subscribe because it will help the channel grow, and please share so that other students can benefit from this video too. So remember, please subscribe if you like this video, because it's gonna help the channel grow, and you will be able to get notified when I upload a new video on YouTube. Hope you are able to understand what I've just mentioned just now. So again, we're just going to recap. Dividing whole number by a whole number with quotient as a fraction. Alright, so we have 3, for this case, 3 divided by 5. We just make it into a fraction, like that. Alright, so we have the answer there. And then for this question particularly, we want for 2 children, so we just do multiplication. But we are focusing only on this one. So 5 divided by 4, another example. 5 over 4 is an improper fraction. You can't leave it as improper fraction. So change it to mixed number. Okay, and the next thing you're supposed to know is converting fractions to decimal. There's 2 methods. The first one is changing the denominator to tens, hundred, or thousand. And the next one is by dividing. Okay, so hopefully I'll see you in the next video. And don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much.